I stood in my childhood bedroom, holding the rejection letter from Stanford Medical School. My father just told me the brutal truth. He emptied my college fund, $23,000 saved since birth, to pay for my cousin Brandon's business startup. Brandon, who moved in 2 years ago after his parents died. Brandon, who my father calls the son I always wanted. My mother died when I was 12, and now my father has chosen someone else's child over his own. Everything I worked for is gone. The letter felt heavy in my hands, heavier than paper should feel. Stanford Medical School. I had dreamed about this since I was 15 years old. I worked my tail off through high school, graduated with a 4.0 grade average, scored in the 98th percentile on the MCAT, volunteered at 3 different hospitals, shadowed doctors for hundreds of hours. And now, because of one decision my father made without even telling me, it was all gone. I walked downstairs. My legs felt numb. My father sat at the kitchen table with Brandon, both of them laughing about something on Brandon's laptop. They didn't even notice me standing there at first. "Dad, we need to talk. Now." My voice came out harder than I intended. My father looked up, and I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. Not guilt, not shame, annoyance. "Kenneth, I already explained this to you. Brandon needed the money more than you do. You can take out loans like everyone else. That was my college fund. Mom and you saved that money for me since I was born. You had no right to give it away." Brandon shifted in his chair, pretending to be uncomfortable, but I caught the hint of a smirk at the corner of his mouth. "I had every right. I'm your father. That money was in my name." He stood up, crossing his arms. "Brandon is starting something real here. A tech company. He's going to be successful. You're just going to be another doctor. There are thousands of doctors. Brandon has real potential." The words hit me like a physical blow. Just going to be another doctor. After everything I had sacrificed, every Friday night I spent studying instead of going out with friends. Every summer I spent working at the hospital instead of relaxing. He reduced my dreams to nothing. "How much did you give him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My father hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. "Dad, how much?" The college fund was $23,000. But I also needed to help him with initial operating costs. So I took the money from your savings account. Another $8,000. The room spun. My savings account. The money I had earned myself, working as a delivery driver every summer since I was 16, saving every penny I could. $31,000 total. Gone. "You stole from me." I could barely get the words out. "I didn't steal anything. I'm your father. I made a decision about how to best use our family's resources." Our family's resources? That was my money. Brandon finally spoke up, his voice syrupy with false sympathy. "Kenneth, I know this is hard for you to understand right now, but your dad is investing in the future. When my company takes off, we'll all benefit. You'll see." I wanted to hit him. I had never wanted to hit anyone in my life, but in that moment, I wanted to knock that smug look off his face. Instead, I pulled out my phone and called my bank. I walked into the living room while my father yelled at me to come back, to stop being dramatic. The bank representative confirmed what I already knew. My savings account showed a balance of $67.32. My father had cleaned it out 3 months ago, but it got worse. So much worse. "Sir, I'm also seeing some concerning activity on your credit report. It looks like there are several utility accounts in your name that are severely past due. Your credit score has dropped to 520. "What? I don't have any utility accounts. I live with my father. Let me see here. Yes, there's an electric bill, a gas bill, and an internet account, all in your name at your address. The total past due amount is $2,300, and they've been delinquent for over 6 months. My father had put bills in my name. My father had destroyed my credit to avoid paying his own bills. I hung up and walked back into the kitchen. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. "You put utility bills in my name and didn't pay them." I had some cash flow issues. I was planning to pay them off once Brandon's business started making money. My credit is destroyed. I can't even get student loans now. "You're overreacting. Credit can be fixed." I called Stanford's financial aid office right there, on speakerphone, so he could hear. I explained my situation to the counselor. She was sympathetic, but firm. With my credit destroyed and no co-signer, I couldn't get private loans. Federal loans wouldn't cover the full cost of medical school, and Stanford's policy was clear. If I couldn't pay the first semester's tuition of $32,000 within 30 days, I would lose my spot. They couldn't hold it for me. "Can I defer for a year?" I asked, desperately. "I'm sorry, Kenneth. We can only defer for documented medical emergencies or military service. Financial hardship doesn't qualify. If you withdraw now, you'd have to reapply next year, and there's no guarantee of acceptance." I thanked her and ended the call. The silence in the kitchen was suffocating. You have 30 days to find $32,000, or you lose your spot at Stanford, forever. I looked at my father. "You did this to me. I made a choice for this family's future. Brandon isn't your family. I am. Or I was." I went upstairs to my room. I needed to think. I needed to figure out how to earn $32,000 in 30 days. It seemed impossible, but I had to try. I would work. I would work 3 jobs if I had to. I would barely sleep, but I would find a way. I opened my bedroom door and stopped cold. My room was different. The furniture was rearranged. My desk was gone. My bookshelf was gone. Half my clothes were in garbage bags on the floor. I heard footsteps behind me. "My father, I gave Brandon your room. He needs the space for his business meetings and his equipment. You're moving to the basement room." The basement room. The tiny space, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, that we used for storage. Concrete floors. One small window near the ceiling. Damp and cold in the winter. "You're taking away my bedroom? You're being selfish, Kenneth. Brandon needs space to succeed. You can still sleep and study in the basement. You don't need all this room." Brandon walked past us into my former bedroom, carrying a box of computer equipment. He didn't even look at me. That's when I understood. My father wasn't just choosing Brandon over me. He was erasing me, replacing me. In his mind, he had already decided which son he wanted, and it wasn't the one who shared his blood. I moved my things to the basement that night. It took 4 trips to carry everything down the narrow stairs. The basement room smelled like mildew and old cardboard. There was a twin bed frame with a thin mattress, a small lamp, and nothing else. No desk, no closet, just concrete walls and the constant drip of water from a pipe somewhere in the ceiling. I lay on that bed and stared at the water-stained ceiling and made a plan. 30 days. $32,000. It was impossible through normal means, but I had to try. The next morning, I started applying for jobs. Any jobs. All the jobs. By the end of the week, I had cobbled together 3 positions. Morning shift at a warehouse, 4 in the morning until noon, loading trucks. Afternoon shift as a delivery driver for a furniture company, 1 in the afternoon until 6. Night shift as a server at a busy chain restaurant, 7 at night until 2 in the morning. I would sleep from 3 in the morning until 3:30, then start again. It was brutal. My body ached constantly. I drank so much coffee I started shaking. But I was making money. After 2 weeks of this schedule, barely seeing sunlight, barely speaking to anyone, I had saved $4,000. It wasn't enough. It wasn't nearly enough. But it was something. On my 15th night working at the restaurant, I served a table and recognized one of the guys, Tyler Chen. We went to high school together. He had been smart, really smart, but kind of arrogant. Now he wore an expensive suit and a watch that probably cost more than my car. "Kenneth? Man, is that you?" Tyler looked genuinely surprised. "What are you doing working here? I thought you were going to Stanford for medical school." I didn't want to explain, but I was so tired, so worn down, that the whole story just came out. Tyler listened, nodding, and when I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "That's rough, man. Really rough. But listen, I might be able to help you. Unless you're offering to loan me $28,000, I don't think anyone can help me. Not alone. An opportunity. He pulled out his phone and showed me a stock chart. I work in investment trading now. There's this pharmaceutical company, small startup, called Medifront Solutions. They're about to get FDA approval for a new diabetes medication. When that approval hits, the stock is going to explode. I'm talking triple, maybe quadruple your investment in a week. I shook my head. I don't know anything about stocks. You don't need to. I'm telling you. This is as close to a sure thing as you can get in the market. The FDA approval is basically guaranteed. The drug already passed all the trials. This is just the final rubber stamp. I should have walked away. I should have known better. But I was desperate, and desperation makes you do stupid things. That night, after my shift ended at 2 in the morning, I sat in my car in the restaurant parking lot and opened a trading account on my phone. I transferred my $4,000. My hands shook as I bought shares in Medifront Solutions at $6.40 per share. The next 3 days were torture. I checked the stock price every spare moment. And Tyler was right. At first, the stock jumped. $6.40 became $7, then $8.20. By day 3, it hit $9.50. My $4,000 had become almost $9,000. I couldn't believe it. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. I did the math. If the stock kept climbing after FDA approval, if it hit $20 per share like Tyler predicted, my $9,000 could become almost $30,000. I would be so close to my goal. So I made the worst decision of my life. I had a credit card. I had gotten it for emergencies, back when my credit was still good. It had a limit of $5,000. I had never used it, but it had a cash advance feature, $3,000 available at a 29% interest rate. I took the cash advance, $3,000 in cash, deposited into my trading account. Combined with my $9,000 in stock value, I now had $12,000 invested in Medifront Solutions. Tyler texted me that night. FDA announcement tomorrow morning. Get ready to cash out big. I barely slept. I was at the warehouse at 4 in the morning, but I kept my phone in my pocket, checking it every few minutes. The FDA announcement was scheduled for 9:30 in the morning. At 9:15, I took my break early. I sat in my car, phone in hand, watching the stock price. It was holding steady at $9.50. Any minute now, the approval would come through, and I would watch my investments soar. 9:30 came, 9:45, 10 o'clock. At 10:15, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Medifront Solutions, FDA approval, denied. Final trial data shows unexpected cardiac side effects. Stock halted. I stared at the screen. No, this couldn't be happening. When trading resumed at 11 o'clock, the stock price crashed. $9.50 became $3, then $1.20, then 40 cents. By noon, Medifront Solutions had filed for bankruptcy protection. The stock was worth nothing. I lost everything. All $7,000 of actual money I had put in, gone, vanished. And now I had $3,000 of credit card debt at 29% interest. I sat in my car and felt something break inside me. I had 14 days left to come up with $32,000, and I was now negative $3,000. When I got home that night, my father was waiting in the kitchen. Somehow, he had found out about the stock loss. Maybe he saw my credit card statement. Maybe he had been monitoring my accounts without my knowledge. This is exactly why I gave the money to Brandon instead of you. He's smart with money. He makes good decisions. You're reckless. You gambled away $7,000 on some stupid stock tip. You don't deserve to go to medical school. You'd probably kill your patients with the same kind of poor judgment. I didn't have the energy to respond. I walked past him to the basement. Behind me, I heard Brandon's voice, cheerful and bright. Hey, Dad, guess what? I just landed a new client. Made $15,000 in profit this month alone. The business is really taking off. My father's voice was full of pride. That's my boy. I knew investing in you was the right choice. You're going to go so far, Brandon. I lay on my thin mattress in the cold basement and stared at the concrete ceiling. 12 days left until my Stanford deadline. $0 in my account. $3,000 in debt. No hope left. I stopped sleeping more than an hour or two a night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw numbers. 32,000. 12 days. 3,000 in debt. The math didn't work. No matter how I calculated it, there was no way to make enough money in time. On day 8 before the deadline, I was so desperate that I did something I swore I wouldn't do. I called my uncle, my mother's brother Raymond. He was the only family member I still had a relationship with after my mother died. He lived about 3 hours away, and we only saw each other a few times a year. But he always asked about me, always seemed to care. I explained everything. The stolen college fund, the destroyed credit, the stock market disaster, the 12 days I had left. I tried not to cry while I talked, but my voice kept breaking. Uncle Raymond was quiet for a long time after I finished. Kenneth, your mother would be heartbroken if she knew what your father did to you. That money was supposed to be yours. She made him promise to protect it. I know. But it's gone now, and I don't know what to do. How much do you need? $32,000 for the first semester. But I can't ask you for that much. I know you don't have that kind of money just lying around. I don't have $32,000, but I have $15,000 in savings. It's yours. Your mother was my best friend, Kenneth. She loved you more than anything in this world. If she were here, she would move heaven and earth to make sure you got to go to medical school. I can't give you everything you need, but I can give you half. Maybe that will be enough to negotiate with Stanford, or to at least buy you more time. I couldn't speak. Tears ran down my face. Finally, someone in my family was choosing me. Finally, someone cared. Uncle Raymond, I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. Let me drive over there this weekend with the check. We'll figure out the rest together. That Saturday, Uncle Raymond arrived at the house at 2 in the afternoon. I met him at the door, and for the first time in months, I felt something like hope. But my father appeared behind me before I could even hug my uncle. Raymond, good to see you. Come in, come in. Kenneth, go to the store and pick up some groceries. Your uncle and I need to catch up. I wanted to protest, but Uncle Raymond gave me a look that said to trust him. So I left, assuming they were going to discuss how to handle giving me the money without causing a big scene with my father. I was gone for 45 minutes. When I came back, Uncle Raymond's car was still in the driveway, but something felt wrong. I walked into the house carrying grocery bags and heard voices in the living room. I stopped in the hallway, just out of sight, and listened. My father's voice was low, serious. I'm telling you this as Kenneth's father, Raymond. I'm worried about him. Really worried. He's not stable right now. What do you mean? Not stable. He made a terrible financial decision last week. Lost $7,000 gambling on stocks. Just threw the money away on some risky investment without thinking it through. He's desperate. And desperate people make bad choices. That doesn't sound like Kenneth. He's always been so responsible. That's what I thought too. But ever since he got that rejection from Stanford, he's been different. Angry. Reckless. I caught him screaming at Brandon the other day for no reason. Brandon's been nothing but supportive, and Kenneth treats him like garbage. My hands tightened on the grocery bags. Every word out of my father's mouth was a lie. If you give Kenneth money right now, my father continued, I honestly think he'll just waste it. He'll make another bad investment, or spend it on something stupid, and then he'll have nothing. I know you want to help, and I appreciate that. But the best thing you can do for Kenneth right now is to let him face the consequences of his choices. He needs to learn responsibility. Uncle Raymond was silent. But, my father said, his voice brightening, if you really want to invest that $15,000 in something worthwhile, Brandon's company is looking for investors. He's already shown incredible returns. $15,000 could turn into $30,000 or $40,000 within a year. Then you'd have even more money to help Kenneth with, once he gets his head straight. I couldn't listen anymore. I walked into the living room, and both men looked up at me. Uncle Raymond's face was conflicted. He looked at me, then at my father, then back at me. Kenneth, I think we need to talk about this plan more carefully. Your father has raised some concerns. Don't do this, I said quietly. Uncle Raymond, please. You know me. You know I'm not what he's saying I am. I know you're going through a hard time. But maybe your father is right. Maybe you need to take a step back and think about things more clearly before making big financial decisions. He's lying to you. Everything he just told you is a lie. Kenneth, my father said sharply, don't disrespect your uncle. Uncle Raymond stood up. I think I need to go. Kenneth, I'm sorry. I want to help you, but I need to be smart about this. Let's talk again in a few months, when things have settled down. He left without giving me the check. I watched his car pull away and felt the last piece of hope die inside me. I turned to my father. You poisoned him against me. I told him the truth. You're not ready for that kind of responsibility. You told him lies so he would give you money for Brandon instead. My father shrugged. Brandon is a better investment. I went to his office that night while he and Brandon were out celebrating another business milestone at some restaurant. I shouldn't have snooped, but I didn't care anymore about boundaries or respect. I found the document in the second drawer of his desk, a draft of a new will. I read it 3 times to make sure I was seeing it correctly. My father was planning to change his will to make Brandon the primary beneficiary. The house, his retirement savings of $400,000, everything would go to Brandon. I was mentioned once, in a single line. Kenneth receives the sum of $1 and any remaining personal effects not claimed by Brandon. $1. That's what I was worth to him. I took a picture of the document with my phone, though I don't know why. Proof, maybe. Evidence that this was really happening. 6 days left until the Stanford deadline. $0. $3,000 in debt. No family support. And a father who was systematically erasing me from his life. I called Stanford's financial aid office one more time. It was a Monday morning, 5 days before the deadline. I was so tired I could barely speak coherently, but I had to try. The counselor I spoke to was named Mrs. Patterson. She had been kind to me in previous calls, and I was hoping maybe, just maybe, she could find some loophole, some exception. Mrs. Patterson, my name is Kenneth Whitmore. I've called before about my situation with the tuition payment deadline. Yes, I remember you, Kenneth. I'm so sorry about what you're going through. Have you been able to secure the funding? No. That's why I'm calling. I know you've explained the policy to me, but I'm begging you to reconsider. Is there any way at all, that Stanford could extend the deadline, even just by a month? I'm trying everything I can, but I just need more time. She sighed softly. Kenneth, I wish I could help you. I really do. But the policy exists for a reason. We have other qualified applicants on the waiting list who are ready to take the spot if you can't commit. It's not fair to them to hold the spot indefinitely. I understand that. But my situation is unique. My father stole my college fund to give to someone else. That's not something I could have predicted or prevented. Have you considered legal action? If your father illegally took money that was designated for you, you might be able to recover it through the courts. That would take months, probably years. I don't have months. What about other family members? Friends? Sometimes crowdfunding campaigns can be effective. I had already thought about crowdfunding. I had even started to set up a page. But the shame of it, the public admission that my own father chose someone else over me, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't have anyone else who can help. Mrs. Patterson was quiet for a moment. Kenneth, I'm going to be honest with you. Even if we extended the deadline, even if you managed to scrape together the first semester's tuition, medical school is expensive. We're talking about over $200,000 over 4 years. If you're struggling this much now, how will you afford the rest? The question hung in the air. She was right. Even if I somehow made it through this crisis, there would be another one, and another one after that. So what do you suggest I do? I think you need to seriously consider withdrawing and reapplying next year when you're in a more stable financial situation. I know it's not what you want to hear, but sometimes taking a step back is the smartest move. If I withdraw, what are my chances of getting accepted again next year? I can't make any promises. You'd be in the regular applicant pool. Your application would be strong, but there's never a guarantee. I thanked her and hung up. I sat in my car outside the warehouse where I worked the morning shift and stared at my phone. This was it. The end of the road. I had run out of options. I called Stanford back and spoke to the admissions office. I officially withdrew from the medical school program. The woman on the phone was professional and cold. She said my spot would be given to the next person on the waiting list. She wished me luck in my future endeavors. The whole conversation took less than 3 minutes. 22 years of working toward one goal, and it ended with a 3-minute phone call. I didn't go to my warehouse job that day. I called in sick. I didn't go to my delivery driver job or my restaurant job either. I just sat in my car in a grocery store parking lot and stared at nothing. My phone buzzed. My girlfriend Jessica, ex-girlfriend Jessica, technically, though we hadn't officially broken up yet. The text said, "I've been thinking a lot about us. I don't think this is working anymore. You're in a really bad place right now, and I can't be dragged down with you. I need to focus on my own future. I'm sorry. I hope you understand." I read it 3 times. She broke up with me via text. We had been together for 4 years, and she ended it with a text message because I lost my money and my dream. I didn't respond. What was there to say? I went back to my father's house that night. I had missed all 3 of my jobs, which meant I had probably been fired from at least 2 of them. I didn't care. I went straight to the basement room without talking to anyone and lay on the thin mattress. For 3 days, I barely moved. I didn't eat. I didn't shower. I drank water from the bathroom sink when I got thirsty. I stared at the concrete ceiling and felt absolutely nothing. I had hit a place beyond depression, beyond despair. I was just empty. On the 3rd day, I heard noise upstairs. Lots of noise. Music. Laughter. People talking. I forced myself to get up and climb the stairs. My legs were weak from not eating. The house was full of people. My extended family. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. My Aunt Sarah. Uncle Raymond was there too, though he looked uncomfortable when he saw me. There was a banner hanging in the living room. "Congratulations, Brandon." My father stood in the middle of the room, holding a glass of champagne, beaming with pride. Everyone, can I have your attention?" He tapped his glass with a knife. "I want to make a toast to Brandon. 3 months ago, I took a chance on this young man. I believed in him when he needed someone to believe in him. And look at him now. He just closed a deal with a major investor for $200,000. $200,000. His company is going to be huge. I'm so proud to call him my son." Everyone clapped. Brandon stood next to my father, grinning, accepting congratulations from people who had been at my high school graduation, who had given me gifts when I got into Stanford, who had known me my entire life. Not one person asked where I was or why I wasn't celebrating with them. I stood in the doorway to the basement, wearing sweatpants and a stained t-shirt, and watched my father celebrate another man's success with my stolen money. Brandon saw me. Our eyes met across the room. He excused himself from a conversation with my aunt and walked over to me. He leaned in close, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "Thanks for the college fund, Kenneth. I really needed that seed money to get things started. Your dad made the right choice giving it to me instead of wasting it on you." I just stared at him. He had known. He had known the whole time that the money was stolen from me, and he didn't care. He thought it was funny. "Your dad was right about you," Brandon continued, still smiling that perfect smile. "You're a loser who couldn't hack it. Medical school? Please. You would have failed out in the first year. At least now you know your place." Something inside me cracked. Not in a breaking way, but in a way that let something new through. Anger. Pure, cold anger. I had been sad for so long, depressed, hopeless, but standing there, listening to Brandon mock me with my family celebrating him 10 feet away, I felt anger for the first time in weeks. And anger was better than emptiness. Anger was fuel. I didn't say anything to Brandon. I just turned around, went back to the basement, and started making a new plan. Not a plan to get into Stanford. That dream was dead. But a plan to survive. a plan to prove every single one of them wrong. I would succeed, not for my father's approval, not to win back Jessica, not to impress my family, but to spite them, to show Brandon that he didn't win, to show my father that he made the biggest mistake of his life. I packed my things that night. Everything I owned fit into 2 large duffel bags and a backpack. I texted my friend Marcus, someone I had known since middle school, and asked if I could crash on his couch for a while. He said yes, without asking questions. I left my father's house at 2 in the morning. I didn't leave a note. I just walked out and didn't look back. Marcus lived in a small apartment 20 minutes away. He was going to community college and working part-time at a coffee shop. His couch was old and lumpy, but it was mine for as long as I needed it. "Stay as long as you want, man," Marcus said. "Seriously. You've been dealt a bad hand. You need time to figure things out." I got my warehouse job back. I groveled a little, explained I had a family emergency, and they gave me another chance. I picked up as many shifts as they would give me. I stopped trying to work 3 jobs and focused on just one, but I worked 50 to 60 hours a week. I saved every penny. I cut off all contact with my father and Brandon, blocked their numbers, deleted social media. I didn't want to know what they were doing or saying. I needed to focus on my own survival. At night, after my shifts, I started researching alternative paths to medicine. Medical school felt impossible now, but I still wanted to work in healthcare. I still wanted to help people. That's when I discovered physician assistant programs. PAs can diagnose patients, prescribe medications, perform procedures. They work alongside doctors and do almost everything a doctor does. The programs are shorter, only 2 to 3 years instead of 4 years plus residency. The tuition is significantly less expensive, and most programs accept federal student loans that don't require good credit. I found a program at a state university about an hour away. It started in 6 months. The tuition was manageable. I could take out federal loans to cover most of it, and with the money I was saving from my warehouse job, I could cover the rest. I applied. I wrote my personal statement carefully, explaining my passion for medicine, my volunteer work, my experience. I didn't mention my father or Brandon or Stanford. That wasn't part of my story anymore. 3 months after I left my father's house, I got the acceptance letter. I was admitted to the PA program starting in August. I cried when I read the letter. Not sad tears, relief tears. I had a future again. It wasn't the future I had originally planned, but it was a good future, a real future. I worked even harder after that. I saved $8,000 by June. I paid off the $3,000 credit card debt. I started repairing my credit by getting a secured credit card and paying it off in full every month. My credit score climbed from 520 to 615. I started running in the mornings before work. I started eating better. I lost the weight I had gained from stress and depression. I felt strong for the first time in almost a year. Marcus noticed the change. "You're different, man. You seem lighter." "I feel lighter. I'm not carrying their weight anymore." 2 weeks before the PA program started, I was moving boxes at the warehouse when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Is this Kenneth Whitmore?" "Yes." "Who's calling?" "This is Lawrence Brennan from the law firm Brennan and Associates. I'm calling regarding a lawsuit involving Brandon Hartley." "Are you familiar with Mr. Hartley?" My blood went cold. "He's my cousin. What's going on?" "Mr. Hartley's company is being sued for patent infringement by a major technology corporation. They're claiming he stole proprietary software code to build his platform. The lawsuit is for $300,000. Your father, Daniel Whitmore, is listed as a co-signer on Mr. Hartley's business loan, with the family home as collateral. I'm calling to inform you of this because you're listed as a resident of that address on file." I sat down on a stack of boxes. "What does this mean?" "It means if Mr. Hartley loses the lawsuit and can't pay the judgment, the creditors can force the sale of your father's house to satisfy the debt. I wanted to make sure you were aware so you could make arrangements if necessary." "When is the trial?" "It's scheduled for 3 months from now. But between us, Mr. Hartley doesn't have much of a case. The evidence is pretty damning. I'd say there's an 80% chance he loses. I thanked him and hung up. I sat there for a long time, processing what I had just heard. Brandon was being sued. For stealing code. Of course he was. His brilliant business idea was probably stolen from someone else. And because my father had tied himself to Brandon financially, he was going to lose everything when Brandon went down. My phone rang again 5 minutes later. This time I recognized the number. My father. I hadn't spoken to him in months. I stared at the screen, watching it ring, debating whether to answer. I answered. Kenneth. My father's voice was shaky, desperate. I need to talk to you. It's important. I heard about the lawsuit. Then you know how serious this is. Kenneth, I made a mistake. I see that now. I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'm sorry I took your money. I'm sorry I chose Brandon over you. I was wrong. But I need your help now. I need my son. The words I had waited months to hear. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I need you. But they came too late. And for the wrong reasons. What do you want from me? I asked. Brandon needs a good lawyer. A really good lawyer. But they cost money. A lot of money. I've already spent most of my savings on legal fees. I need about $50,000 more to have a real chance of winning this case. If we lose, Kenneth, they'll take the house. I'll lose everything. And you want me to give you $50,000. Not give. Loan. I'll pay you back as soon as Brandon gets back on his feet. His company just needs to weather this storm, and then everything will be fine. I almost laughed. I don't have $50,000. But you're about to start that PA program, right? You must have student loans. You could take out extra, just for this emergency. Please, Kenneth. I'm begging you. We're family. Family helps family. Family helps family. The words tasted like poison. You took my college fund to help Brandon. You destroyed my credit. You gave away my bedroom. You wrote me out of your will for $1. And now you want me to go into debt to save you. I know I hurt you, but I'm still your father. Your mother would want you to help me. That was the wrong thing to say. Bringing up my mother, the woman who loved me unconditionally, to manipulate me into helping the man who betrayed me. Don't you dare use Mom to guilt me. If Mom were alive, none of this would have happened. She would never have let you steal from me. Kenneth, please. I'm desperate. If I lose the house, I have nothing. I'm 72 years old. I can't start over. You should have thought about that before you gambled everything on Brandon. So you're going to let me lose everything? You're going to abandon your own father? The PA program started in 2 weeks. I had saved enough money for books and supplies. I had an apartment lined up, a small studio near campus. My life was finally coming together, and my father wanted me to throw it all away to save him and Brandon. I'm not abandoning you, I said quietly. You abandoned me first. You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. Kenneth, don't do this. Goodbye, Dad. I hung up. He called back immediately. I blocked the number. I sat in my car in the warehouse parking lot and felt the weight of that decision settle over me. My father was going to lose his house. He was going to lose everything, and I had chosen not to help him. It should have felt good, like justice, but it just felt sad, empty, like watching something break that could never be fixed. I started the PA program 2 weeks later. I threw myself into my studies with everything I had. I studied harder than anyone else in my class. I aced every test. I volunteered for extra clinical hours. I made myself indispensable. 2 months into the program, I was ranked first in my class. The PA program was everything I hoped it would be. Challenging, intense, but fulfilling. I was learning to diagnose patients, to understand disease processes, to make real decisions that would affect people's lives. It felt right in a way that nothing else ever had. I met someone. Her name was Amanda Carter. She was in my class, smart and funny and kind in ways that made me remember not everyone in the world was selfish. We studied together, got coffee between classes, talked for hours about our dreams and fears. She knew bits and pieces of my story. I didn't tell her everything, but she knew my relationship with my father was complicated. She never pushed me to explain more than I was ready to share. "You're going to be an amazing PA," she told me one night while we were studying in the library. "You care about people. That's the most important thing." "I care about some people," I said, looking at her. She smiled. "That's a start." We started dating officially in October. She met Marcus, who gave his approval immediately. "She's good for you, man. You smile more when she's around." Everything was finally falling into place. For the first time since my mother died, I felt like I had a real life, a real future, people who actually cared about me. Then, on a Tuesday morning in November, I got the call, unknown number again. I considered not answering, but something told me I should. "Kenneth, it's Uncle Raymond." I hadn't spoken to him since the day he left my father's house without giving me the money he promised. Part of me was still angry about that, but part of me understood. My father had poisoned him against me with lies. "What do you want?" I asked, not kindly. "It's your father. He had a heart attack yesterday. He's in the hospital. It's serious, Kenneth. He's asking for you." The words hit me like cold water. "Is he going to be okay?" "The doctors aren't sure yet, but he wants to see you. He keeps asking for you. I know you two haven't spoken in a while, but I think you should come." I should have said no. I should have hung up and gone back to my life. But despite everything, despite the betrayal and the pain, he was still my father, and I wasn't the kind of person who could let someone die alone without at least saying goodbye. "I'll come." "Which hospital?" Uncle Raymond gave me the information. I told Amanda I had to go, explained briefly what happened. She offered to come with me, but I needed to do this alone. The hospital was 30 minutes away. I drove in silence, my mind racing. What would I say to him? What did he want to say to me? Uncle Raymond met me in the waiting room. He looked older than I remembered, more tired. "Before you go in there, I need to tell you something." He looked ashamed. "I did some digging after your father's heart attack. I talked to some other family members, looked at some financial records. Kenneth, your father lied to me about you. Everything he said that day, about you being unstable and reckless, it was all lies. I'm so sorry I believed him. I should have trusted you. It doesn't matter now. It does matter. I failed you when you needed me. Your mother would be so disappointed in me. How bad is he?" "Really? The heart attack was severe. He's stable now but weak. The doctors say he'll survive, but it's going to be a long recovery." I walked to my father's room. He was in a bed surrounded by machines, wires and tubes everywhere. He looked small, old, nothing like the strong, intimidating man who raised me. His eyes opened when I walked in. "Kenneth, you came. Uncle Raymond said you asked for me." "I did. I have things I need to say to you before it's too late." His voice was weak, strained. "I'm dying, Kenneth. Uncle Raymond said you'll survive, maybe this heart attack. But I'm 72. I won't last much longer. And I need you to know the truth before I die." I pulled up a chair and sat down. "What truth?" "The truth about why I treated you the way I did. Why I gave everything to Brandon and took everything from you." He closed his eyes. "Your mother and I, we had a complicated marriage. She was the love of my life, but I always felt like I was second place in her heart. You were her first place. She loved you so much, Kenneth, so much that sometimes I felt invisible. That's not true. She loved you too. She did, but not the way she loved you. And after she died, every time I looked at you, I saw her. I saw her eyes, her smile, her kindness, and it hurt. It hurt so much that I couldn't stand to be around you. Brandon didn't look like her. Brandon was easy to love because he didn't remind me of what I lost." Tears rolled down his cheeks. "I had never seen my father cry before, so I pushed you away. I gave Brandon all the opportunities I should have given you because I was a coward who couldn't deal with his own grief. And in doing that, I destroyed you. I destroyed my own son. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to forgive him. Part of me wanted to scream at him." "The lawsuit," he continued. "Brandon lost. The court ruled against him 2 weeks ago. He has to pay $300,000 and he doesn't have it. They're forcing the sale of the house next month. Everything I own is gone. Brandon declared bankruptcy and moved to California. He hasn't called me once since the verdict. So Brandon abandoned him too. Of course he did. I'm going to be living in a small apartment on Social Security. I spent my entire retirement savings on lawyers who couldn't save us. I have nothing left. He looked at me with desperate eyes. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. But I'm begging you anyway. I'm your father. I'm alone. I'm broke. I'm dying. Please, Kenneth. Please help me. I sat there for a long time, looking at this old, broken man who used to be my father. How much do you need? I asked quietly. His face lit up with hope. The medical bills from this heart attack are going to be about $20,000. My insurance will cover some, but not all. If you could help with 10 or 12,000, just to get me through this rough patch, I'd be so grateful. We could start over, Kenneth. We could fix our relationship. I had exactly $12,000 saved. It was supposed to be for living expenses, for books, for emergencies during the rest of my PA program. But it was enough to save my father from medical debt. I stood up. Kenneth? My father reached out his hand. Will you help me? I looked at his hand, then at his face, and I thought about everything he had done to me. Not just the stolen money, but the years of choosing Brandon over me. The way he mocked me when I lost money in the stock market. The way he gave away my bedroom and moved me to the basement. The way he wrote me out of his will for $1. I thought about how he only apologized when he needed something from me. How his tears came not from genuine remorse, but from fear of dying alone and broke. I thought about my mother, who would have given anything to see me succeed, who saved every penny of that college fund believing it would give me a better life. And I thought about the life I was building now, the life I built without him, without his money, without his approval, without his love. No, I said simply. My father's face crumbled. What? I won't help you. You made your choices. You chose Brandon over me. Again and again and again. You can't apologize your way out of consequences just because you're finally facing them. But I'm your father. You stopped being my father the day you stole my college fund. Family helps family, right? That's what you said to me. But you didn't help me. You destroyed me. And now you want me to save you? No. I won't do it. Kenneth, please. You'll survive this heart attack. You'll find a cheap apartment somewhere. You'll live on Social Security. It won't be comfortable, but you'll survive. Just like I survived when you took everything from me. The difference is, I survived and built something better. You'll just survive. I walked to the door. Kenneth. His voice was stronger now, angry. If you walk out that door, don't ever come back. You'll regret this. When I die, you'll regret this. I turned back to look at him one last time. Maybe I will. But it'll be my regret to carry, not yours. I left the hospital. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, shaking, wondering if I had just made the worst decision of my life. Then I drove back to campus. Amanda was waiting for me in the library. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. It's okay, she whispered. Whatever happened, it's okay. I think I just destroyed what was left of my relationship with my father. Did it deserve better? I thought about that question for a long time. No, he didn't. Then you did the right thing. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. 6 months passed after I walked out of that hospital room. 6 months of focusing on my studies, on my relationship with Amanda, on building a life that belonged to me and no one else. I graduated from the PA program in May with the highest grades in my class. I had job offers from 3 different hospitals before I even finished my final clinical rotation. I chose a position at a large teaching hospital with an excellent reputation working in the emergency department. The starting salary was $95,000 a year. $95,000. More money than I ever imagined making right out of school. Enough to pay off my student loans aggressively. Enough to rent a nice apartment. Enough to finally, truly feel secure. My first day of work was overwhelming and exhilarating. I diagnosed a child's ear infection. I sutured a laceration on a construction worker's arm. I helped stabilize a cardiac patient before the doctor took over. I worked a 12-hour shift and came home, exhausted but fulfilled. Amanda and I moved in together that summer. We found a small but beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood. She got a job at a pediatric clinic. We adopted a cat named Watson. We talked about getting married someday, when we were both more established in our careers. Uncle Raymond reached out in July. He wanted to make amends for real this time. He offered to help us with a down payment on a house whenever we were ready. I told him we weren't ready yet, but I appreciated the gesture. We started having dinner once a month. It was slow, rebuilding that relationship, but it felt genuine. Marcus came over for dinner regularly. He finished community college and got a job as a dental hygienist. He was dating a woman named Lauren, who made him laugh constantly. We talked about old times, about how far we had both come. "Remember when you were sleeping on my couch?" Marcus said one night. "You were so broken, man. Look at you now." I remember. I don't think I ever properly thanked you for taking me in. That's what friends do. Besides, you would have done the same for me. In August, 1 year after I started the PA program, the hospital promoted me. I became the lead PA in the emergency department, supervising a team of 3 other PAs. My salary jumped to $108,000. I was 29 years old, and I had built a life I was proud of. A career I loved, a woman I planned to marry, friends who supported me, financial stability, peace. And then, on a Tuesday morning in September, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer representing my father's estate. I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Inside was a brief letter informing me that my father had passed away in his sleep 3 weeks earlier. Natural causes. There was no funeral service per his request. His body had been cremated, and at the bottom of the letter was a note, handwritten in shaky script, that I recognized as my father's. "Kenneth, I spent the last year of my life thinking about what I did to you. I was wrong. I was selfish and cruel, and I destroyed something precious because I was too broken to appreciate it. You don't owe me forgiveness. But I want you to know that despite everything, I was proud of you. You became successful without me, without my money, without my approval. That makes you stronger than I ever was. I'm sorry I never told you that when I was alive. I'm sorry for so many things. I hope you find happiness. You deserve it more than anyone. Your father." I read the note 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't cry. I felt sad, but it was a distant sadness, like mourning someone I used to know a long time ago. The man who wrote that note wasn't really my father anymore. My father died the day he stole my college fund. This was just the body finally catching up. Uncle Raymond called later that day. "I wanted to make sure you got the letter." I helped him write it near the end. He was too weak to write much himself. Did he suffer? No. It was peaceful. He went to sleep and didn't wake up. Good. I'm glad it was peaceful. He talked about you constantly in those final months. He had pictures of you as a child all over his apartment. He watched your social media profiles, saw that you graduated, got a good job. He was proud, Kenneth. For whatever that's worth now, it's worth something. Not everything, but something. There's no inheritance, if you're wondering. He died with about $800 to his name. But he wanted you to have something. Uncle Raymond sent me a package a week later. Inside was a photo album I had never seen before. Pictures of my mother pregnant with me. Pictures of my mother holding me as a baby. Pictures of the 3 of us together, looking like a happy family. And tucked in the back was my mother's wedding ring and a letter she had written to me when I was born. "My dearest Kenneth, you are the greatest joy of my life. No matter what happens, no matter where life takes you, remember that you are loved beyond measure. You are strong. You are kind. You are everything good in this world. Your mother." I cried when I read that letter. Not for my father, but for my mother. For the love she had for me that my father couldn't match. For the life she didn't get to see me build. Amanda found me in the bedroom, holding the letter, tears streaming down my face. "Is that from your mom?" I nodded. She sat next to me and read it over my shoulder. "She would be so proud of you," Amanda said softly. "Everything you've accomplished, everything you've become." "I hope so. I know so." A month later, Uncle Raymond took me to my mother's grave. I hadn't been there in years. The headstone was simple, just her name and dates. I knelt down and told her everything. About Stanford, about the stolen money, about Brandon, about the PA program, about Amanda, about my job, about my life. "I made it, Mom. Not because of Dad, because of me. And maybe because you're watching over me. I hope you're proud. I hope wherever you are, you know that I'm okay. Better than okay. I'm happy." The wind blew through the trees, and I chose to believe that was her answer. That night, Amanda and I went out to dinner at a nice restaurant. We ordered wine and appetizers and talked about the future. "I've been thinking," Amanda said, her eyes bright with excitement. "What if we started looking at houses? Not just apartments, but real houses. We both have stable jobs now. We could do it. You want to buy a house with me? I want to build a life with you. A real, permanent life." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I want that too." We bought a house in November. A small 3-bedroom craftsman with a front porch and a backyard. It needed some work, but it was ours. We painted the walls together, planted a garden, hung pictures. I stood in the living room one Saturday afternoon, looking around at the life I had built, and thought about my father's last words to me. "You became successful without me. That makes you stronger than I ever was." He was right. I was stronger. Not because I was special or lucky, but because I had been tested in ways most people never are. I had lost everything and rebuilt from nothing. I had been betrayed by the person who was supposed to protect me, and still found people worth trusting. I had been told I wasn't good enough, and proved everyone wrong. Brandon was gone. I looked him up once, out of curiosity. He was working as a sales representative for a tech company in California, making maybe $40,000 a year. His company had failed. His lawsuit had destroyed him financially. All that stolen money, all that opportunity, and he squandered it. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Not because I had advantages, but because I worked for it. Because I refused to give up even when giving up would have been easier. That's the difference between success built on shortcuts and success built on sacrifice. Shortcuts collapse the moment they're tested. Sacrifice builds foundations that last forever. I visited my mother's grave one more time before the year ended. I brought flowers and sat on the grass next to her headstone. "I wanted to tell you something, Mom. I forgive him. Not because he deserves it, but because I don't want to carry anger anymore. He was broken, and broken people break things. But I'm not broken. You made sure of that. You loved me enough that even after you were gone, even after Dad tried to destroy me, I still knew what love looked like. I still knew I was worth something." I stood up and brushed off my pants. "I'm getting married next year. Amanda, she's amazing. You would love her. She's kind like you were, strong like you were, and I'm going to be a good husband to her. And someday, if we have kids, I'm going to be a good father. I'm going to be everything Dad wasn't." The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I walked back to my car feeling lighter than I had in years. My father had sacrificed my future for my cousin, thinking Brandon was the better investment. But he was wrong. He gambled on shortcuts and flash instead of substance and sacrifice. And in the end, karma made sure he understood exactly how badly he had miscalculated. I didn't succeed because of my father. I succeeded despite him. And that success, that hard-won, fought for, earned success, is sweeter than anything he could have given me. I am enough. I always was. And I built a life that proves it every single day. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone you trusted completely betray you? Someone who was supposed to support you but chose someone else instead? How did you find the strength to move forward? How did you rebuild when everything fell apart? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you overcame your own challenges. And if this story resonated with you, If it reminded you that you're stronger than your circumstances, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories. And share this with someone who needs to hear that they can survive betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are in your journey, whether you're in the middle of the storm or coming out the other side, you remember this. You are enough. You always were. Keep fighting. Keep building. Keep proving the doubters wrong. Until next time, take care of yourselves.